What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Brand podcast. And today, well, if you are watching this, you might notice that I'm wearing sunglasses. Yeah, I'm wearing some sunglasses. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, you can't see that, but I am. And there's a reason why I'm wearing sunglasses. And also what made me want to record this video, this podcast, because something happened to me over the weekend, Father's Day weekend, by the way, and something that took me out of commission for a couple of days, actually 3 days, 3 full days. And for those of you that don't know, my son is also getting married this weekend. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. I got a whole bunch of stuff to do, but well, I ended up scratching my cornea on Father's Day, doing some routine yard work, and had to go to urgent care. So that's what happened. That's why I'm wearing the sunglasses. I'll lift them so you guys can see that I'm not faking. See that eye right there? Looks like I got punched in the face. Today's the first day that I've actually been able to feel somewhat normal, even though it doesn't look normal. So I am going to be wearing sunglasses for a little while. I do have my other glasses. I'll try to go back and forth with them. But what really inspired me to want to record this episode was me showing up to record this episode, because I could have very well just said, you know what? I know it's Wednesday, but I'm hurt and I'm not going to show up. But I'm all about being consistent. And the number one thing that I see people failing to do, and which makes them fail at what they're trying to do, is stay consistent. And today I want to show up here to represent consistency, but also to speak to that and give some examples and give you things to think about as far as how you can reach your success wherever that is, whatever thing you're trying to accomplish. We're going to be talking about starting a side hustle, then turning that into a micro brand and all of that, because it does start with being consistent over the course of time. So Chris, that's what we're going to be talking about, me and the accident. And then we'll talk about consistency. We'll talk about some things that have allowed us to be successful over the years. And really, if I can just inspire one person to show up and be consistent, it's going to get them results, and that will be a win for me. And there's actually a story I'll share with you guys on one of my buddies who was struggling to be consistent. I finally got him to be consistent, and he's getting some really good results. So I'll be sharing that here with you guys in a little bit. So Chris, where you want to go here, man? I'm going to let you lead the train here today.
Let's just start with the fact that you're rocking those shades, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Sal said, "Oh my God, I thought you just wanted to look cool. Congratulations," which I'm assuming is not on the poking the eye thing. It's more on the Scotty getting hitched this weekend thing, I'm hoping. Otherwise, it's just because you're looking pretty cool. And Scott, as we were talking about this theme this morning, it reminded me of something. You remember who Jim Mora is, right?
Yeah.
And it reminded me of the famous quote of his, right? Like, playoffs, we talk about playoffs, we got to win a game first, right? And that's really kind of what inspired my thought on this theme, because everybody wants the results, but not everybody wants to put in the work. Everybody wants to make it to the playoffs, but they don't want to have to win some of the games along the way. And that's what we really wanted to talk about here today. So let's just jump into it. I know we're going to have a lot of people talking about a lot of different things, but Scott, what is the number one reason why people fail at starting a side hustle? Not just getting started, but keeping it successful over the long term.
Yeah. So, I mean, the very first thing that I would say is the lack of showing up on a regular basis. And one of the things that I see a lot of people doing is they set out to do something, right? And then they actually might do the thing. So it kind of comes in stages. The way I look at it is like, you have this idea. Okay, this is a great idea to start a side hustle. I'm going to use YouTube as an example, right? Because we did an episode, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 episodes ago, where we talked about starting a side hustle using YouTube to actually build your micro brand, right? So we kind of outlined all of that stuff. If you guys want to watch that episode or tune into that one, I'll go ahead and drop the link later in the description, or you can just search on the YouTube channel for that. But let's just say that you are going to use YouTube as a way to build an audience and then to leverage the audience to monetize and to build a micro brand. The first thing you need to do is you need to start recording videos, right? But the thing that holds people back is, well, I got to get everything right. I got to get everything perfect. I don't know if I'm good on camera. I don't know any of that stuff. So the first hurdle is getting over that. And the reason why I'm wearing sunglasses, guys, again, if you guys are just tuning in, is because I have a scratched cornea, and I don't want you guys to tune, just start tuning in and go, why is this guy wearing sunglasses? So that's why. And the reason why I'm sharing that once again is because, consistency for me is everything. If I didn't show up today, I would feel like I kind of lost. I lost my rhythm, or I lost my momentum. And the thing is when you are first starting and you get over that first hurdle, let's say the hurdle is, I just got to upload a video because I want to start on YouTube. That's fine. Upload the video. But then what happens is people don't see results. So then they stop recording videos, and that's a big mistake. But the big mistake is the consistency. And the way that people approach being consistent is saying, I'm going to post a video, or I'm going to write a blog post, or I'm going to write one email a week. Right? That's good. That's great. That's awesome. But where people really drop the ball is they don't put an actual date and a time to that. So you guys know, if you're watching this live, if you're on the channel, it is Wednesday and it is 12 p.m. Eastern time. And the reason why it is that time is because that's the time that Chris and I said that we are going to show up and do a live on YouTube. And we don't care if there's one person or 100 people or 1,000 people here live, because we know that over time, there's going to be more people that are going to benefit from this episode, either on YouTube, whether it's on the podcast, whether it's on Facebook, doesn't matter. We know that showing up on a regular basis is going to pay off over time. And that's how you build consistency, or you build momentum. So I remember, and again, I'll share this story, going back to, let's say, the very first episode I did on the podcast, which we're going back 7 years ago now, I believe. So 7 years ago, when I committed to doing that, I said to myself, I am going to record, at that time, it's kind of crazy, 3 episodes a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I am going to do that regardless of what the numbers look like. Like, I'm not even going to care about downloads. I'm not going to care about views, listens, any of that stuff. I'm going to show up and I'm going to do that consistently for 20, I think it was like 24 or 25 episodes, something like that, right? And then I'll decide, do I still want to keep doing this, right? But the magical thing that happens when you do that many episodes and you commit to it is, yes, you're going to start seeing results, but you're going to also start getting better at it. You're going to start getting better at it. We've all heard, people talk about your first, whatever you do, your first video, your first podcast, your first blog post, whatever is going to be your worst. So get it out of the way. So why not get the first 10, 15, 20 of those out of the way? Because you might actually get one that takes, but you also learn every single time. So every single time that I'm recording something, I'm going to look back at the numbers. I'm going to look back at the comments. I'm going to look back at the feedback and go, was this good? Can this be better? Where can it be better? Okay. So whenever we are trying to achieve something, we need to go all in, right? I said this to my wife this morning. I said, and because I got a little bit like this, where I was a little bit ranting a little bit. I was like, the reason why people don't get the results is because they give up way too soon. Or if you think about it, is as far as like baseball, right? Like I was just watching what's his name? Gosh, I should know this. Carlos. Chris, you got to help me with my own team here. Oh gosh. Stanton. Okay. So Stanton on the Yankees, right? Getting paid millions of dollars. And yesterday they said that he is like 5 for like 55, right? So he's been up 55 times, but he's only had 5 hits. Okay. Getting paid millions of dollars. Okay. And the reason why I'm saying that is because he can't get a hit unless he keeps getting in the box, right? So we got to keep stepping in the box. We got to keep stepping in the game, whatever game that is. In this case, it is YouTube, or it is a blog post, or, it is building out your Etsy shop. Like whatever it is, you need to commit to it. You need to set something up so it is every single week, the exact same time. And you're going to commit to that, and you're going to show up and do it regardless of what happens in your life. Bottom line. So Chris, a little bit of a rant there with the shades. And guys, if you're just tuning in, I have a scratch cornea. That's why I'm wearing these glasses.
So first of all, I just realized that in the description for this live stream, you called it an eye-opening topic, which I think is kind of ultimate dad level humor for your Father's Day injury. The other thing I wanted to point out, Scott, is Lisa Joseph over on Facebook said, I can hit better than that. Lisa, I would be curious to see you batting against a professional pitcher, but I have no doubt that you could go better than 9%. It's almost impossible to go worse than 9% in Major League Baseball, but you still have to be consistent, right? If you're struggling with one specific pitch, then the consistency needs to be on hitting against that pitch, right? If you can't hit a curveball, the only way to learn how to hit a curveball is to swing and miss a whole heck of a lot. The same thing applies in business, whether it's online business, offline business, whether you're going after e-commerce, whether you're going after Etsy, whether you're going after just creating a content play, right? Building up your YouTube channel or a blog or any of those kinds of things. Consistency really is the key. And Scott, one thing that I wanted to talk about here, first of all, is having the importance of deadlines. And one of the things that you and I have talked about, not as often on these live streams, but more in real life as we talk to each other, is you have to be able to impose deadlines on yourself, because in a business that you are running, whether it's a side hustle or you're turning this into your full-time thing, you don't have a boss saying, when is that TPS report going to be on my desk? You have to be the boss. And one of the problems, and you and I are guilty of this as well, which is one of the reasons we have a hard set time of noon on Wednesday, unless something massive is coming up, like you're going to be on an airplane or Scotty was getting married today. We're going to commit to that. And if not, we're going to make it up the next day, but we're going to let everybody know in advance. Part of the problem that most people run into, and Scott, I know you've heard me talk about this in the past. Do you remember the concept of Parkinson's law?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right. And the basic concept there is that any task that you have will expand to the time that you give it. So if you say, I'm going to post a YouTube video, cool. When? That then becomes the $1 million question, because if you are not paying attention and not conscious of something like Parkinson's law, you'll often find yourself saying, oh, well, I can do this tomorrow, or let me just push this off a little bit longer, a little bit further. Let me do 10 more minutes worth of research to make sure that I can get this right. Whereas if you have that hard deadline, and you and I talked about this in connection with your buddy, who I'm sure we'll be talking about here in a little bit, is if you don't have that deadline of Thursday at 4:00 or Thursday at noon or Wednesday at noon, like we do, then chances are you're just going to wait for that 5 more minutes to make it that 1% better. And the real thing there is the fear of failure. It has nothing to do with you making it 1% better. Could you, if you spend a little bit more time on it? Yeah, probably. But does that 1% better make up for the never publishing it? The answer is no. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, Scott, is consistency as a crutch. And this is something we see on the opposite side. One of the things we hear all of the time from people is, oh, I will publish videos to my YouTube channel when I have 9 videos done, or when I have 6 weeks worth of back library content, or I'll publish my first blog post when I have 7 articles written. What are your thoughts on that? And what are some ways that you've found to help people get around that particular issue?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Before we do that though, I was just digging around while I was off camera on my bookshelf. And so this book right here is kind of what you're talking about with that Parkinson's law, right? It's kind of like this is called the 12-week year, by the way. It's a
great read.
Yeah, it's a great read. It's by Brian Moran, I think. Anyway, great book, because what they basically outline here is, how do you take what you normally would say, okay, what do we want to accomplish this year in 12 months? And then how do you restructure that with deadlines to actually get that done in 12 weeks? Because you probably can do that. And so that's why I love that. But it's exactly what you're saying, Chris. If you say, I want to do this thing in 90 days, it's going to take you 90 days to do it. I need to do this thing in 2 weeks. I'm going to do the thing in 2 weeks, right? But the problem is we don't give ourselves those hard deadlines. Okay. I'm going to give you a perfect example. Actually, let me wait on that perfect example because it's with a buddy of mine and it'll really outline this. But Chris, what was the question again, as far as like, because people are trying to wait till everything is kind of like they have 9 in the can or they have like the perfect video outlined. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah. So it's consistency as a crutch versus
Yeah.
consistency as something that can help you.
Right. Right. Okay. So, and I think a lot of times procrastination is part of a protection mechanism because you don't want to start, and you don't know this, right? It's a protection thing that it's like, if I don't start it, I can't fail, right? So I'll just keep researching, I'll keep studying, I'll keep doing all of that stuff. I'll keep consuming the content versus actually implementation. And so to me, I would rather learn by doing and getting some information back, some data that's actually coming back to me, right? And then I can kind of keep adjusting. And even though I'm putting myself out there, it almost allows me or forces me to have to do what I'm saying that I'm going to do, right? But the problem is again, a perfect example is a buddy of mine who I talked about this on another episode. His name is Dave. And we had a beer together. We've been friends for probably 4 or 5 years now, maybe even longer. And he's been talking about doing a YouTube channel for the longest time. And last year he published 1 video and that was it. And then he let the channel sit and he might've had like 10 subscribers and he might've had like 110 views. Right. And I kept on him. I'm like, well, like every now and then I'm like, how's that going? And just, well, I gotta wait till I get better, footage. I gotta wait till I get better camera. I gotta wait till this. I gotta wait till that. I gotta wait till this. And that's all I kept hearing. So then I finally set him down this, I don't know, it was like a month ago now, probably maybe 3.5 weeks ago. And I said, hey, you got to get on this YouTube thing, man. I'm seeing such good growth. And I think your market, your niche would be amazing for this. And so I got him excited about it. And he's like, all right, what do I got to do? I go, what you got to do is commit to it. And you got to basically do a video a week. And I need you right now. This is exactly what I said to him. I go, I need you right now to commit to me what day you are going to do it. You tell me. I'm not going to tell you. You tell me what's the day that you're going to do. And I want you to commit to putting a video up, even if you don't think it's the best video. And so he said, I can do Wednesdays. I go, okay, what time? And he's like, I don't know. What's the best time? I go, 10 a.m. Eastern time. I don't even know if that's the best time for his niche, but it's a time, right? And so he's like, okay, I can do it. Well, comes, let's see, Monday. And I'm like, hey, how are you doing with that? And he's like, well, I'm getting ready, but I had some stuff happen, my daughter, with volleyball and, work stuff and whatever. Right. So really what they are, guys, are excuses. That's all it was. Right. We can figure it out. And I told him that. I said, okay, sounds like an excuse to me, Dave, but, where are you going to find the time? An hour. You need an hour to shoot the video, even if it's not perfect, and then get it up there. I know, but now I got to think about what software I'm going to use to do the recording. You already did that. Let's figure it out. Right. Like, okay, whatever, figure out whatever you got to do. But Wednesday, you got a deadline, remember? So then Wednesday rolled around and, no video at 10 a.m. I'm checking. And so I bump him a little bit on text. Like, hey, where's the video? Yeah, I know. But last night this happened and whatever, blah, blah, blah. Right. Excuses. Right. And I said, Dave, sounds like an excuse to me. Tomorrow, Thursday, is that going to be the time? Yep, that'll be the time. Thursday rolls around, no video. I asked him, he's like, well, I got the video pretty much edited, but I wasn't happy with this one spot. So I want to re-edit it tonight and I'll get it up tonight. How about you do Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time? Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern time, video not up there yet. I text him, what's going on? Well, I'm working on thumbnail. I'm working on this. I go, whatever you do, get that thing published. So I think it might've been noon that it got published. And I said, all right, so now your new time is Friday. I want it at 10 a.m. Eastern time, Friday. Okay, perfect. Following week goes by. I start bumping them around Tuesday. Yep, I'm going to have it done. Wednesday. Yep, I'm going to have it done. Right. And then Friday rolls around, no video. Like, Dave, where's the video? I got it pretty much done. It's not 100% ready, but it'll be ready and I'll post it sometime tomorrow. I go, but this is what I'm saying. We gotta get consistent. If you had a boss that said, I need something on my desk Friday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time, you're getting the damn thing done. No excuses. And so that is what I said to him. So the following week I said, are we going to get that video done? He says, yes. And he got it done on Friday, but it was a little bit late. So we're going to see this Friday. Does he get it done at 10 a.m. Eastern time? I'll report back and let you know. But with all that being said, let me just say this. Since he's been publishing these videos, he's published 3 new videos. The first video, and I actually pulled it up here. The first video, actually right now though, in the last 28 days, he's had 7,630 views. He's had 156 subscribers, new subscribers. And right now he's getting about 57 views an hour on his videos, which is amazing for a brand new channel, basically. But let me just look at his other videos. So his first video that went up, that I basically pushed him to set up, is at 3,169 views with 40 comments and 95 likes. He's got another video that went up the following week that is got 3,867. So it already surpassed the one video. And that's got 29 comments and 145 likes. And then he just posted one, let's see, 4 days ago. It's at 826 views, 8 comments, and 43 likes. And that's all happening because he consistently is putting out videos. But you gotta commit to doing it. That's it. Like literally, that's the biggest reason why people don't get it done, right? And before we keep going here, guys, I am ranting a little bit. And if you guys are just tuning in on YouTube or whatever, and you're like, why is he screaming at the camera and why is he wearing glasses? I have a scratched cornea. That's all. Okay. Got the glasses. That's why. So anyway, and I'm not yelling. I'm just very passionate about this because if people would just be consistent, you would see results. You would see results. Chris.
So Scott, I got a bunch of questions. There's some questions coming in, but one of the ones that popped into my head as you were going off on that rant was, okay, he's now posted 3 videos, basically 3 weeks in a row, right? The first one that he posted has done over 3,000 views. The second one that he posted has done over 3,000 views. The third one is an utter failure at something like 800 views, right? Joking, obviously, people, like 800 people seeing a video is cool regardless, right? Especially on what is essentially a new channel. But how do you get around the feeling, Scott, of the letdown of that most recent video? Because I think somebody who came into this game initially and post that first video, they get 3,000 views on it. They get all hyped up. The second one they put up the very next week, it gets another 3,000 views. They're adding subscribers, and then they put one out that flops. How do you get around that letdown? And how do you keep being consistent when it feels like you did something horribly wrong? Do you have a trick for that?
Yeah, I do. It's patience. And here's the deal. That what you didn't hear was each video that got uploaded started the same way. First day might have only gotten 25 views. The next day it might have got 75 views. His videos start off slow and then gradually start to build. That's what we're finding with his channel. Now we've had experience where we'll post a video and it might get 800 views, 1,000 views in the first 6 hours, right? That's a winner for us. But then you get some, like we posted one the other day that didn't cross 800 views until maybe the next day, right? So that's a kind of like a failure to us, but we know that one could catch 6 months from now. So having the mindset that it doesn't matter what that video does today, it's what it can do in the future. And it's another asset that could lead back to your channel or your brand. So you have to get out of the mindset that that new video has to beat the one that you just did in the first 24 hours or the first week even, right? Because every video that's been posted so far has had the same type of growth. And the other thing that you're going to find out is when you get more videos out there, it's going to also, when you start to get more views on a video, it's going to lift the other videos. So if you have more videos in your queue, okay, in your library, then people can start to find those videos from other videos. And that's going to lift those other videos. If you don't have those videos, if you only have one video, it can't lift anything, right? They have nothing else to watch. So to me, how do you get past that? You just, when you go into this thing, just say, I am just going to do this so I can start and I can keep posting and learn and keep creating assets that have a chance to go today and get views and 6 months, year, 5 years from now. So I think that's it. It's a mental shift as far as what you're expecting.
Yeah. And I think going back to the baseball analogy here makes a lot of sense, right? There is no one, no matter who you consider to be the best batter of all time, that has not struck out. There is no one that has not hit a single. There is no one that hasn't hit a double. No one walks up to the plate and hits a home run on every at bat every single time. It's just not going to happen. How do you get to the home run records? Well, again, depending on who you ask, maybe some illicit drugs, but also you have to have the talent to begin with, right? To be able to hit that. Where does that talent come from? It comes from swinging at balls, right? It comes from taking the pitch and actually getting up to the plate and practicing. And even if that video, Scott, never gets above 800 views, it's just a strikeout among 3 other big hits along the way and future ones that are coming down the pike. And that, I think, is the thing that people get caught up in, because it's much, much easier for us to focus on our failures than it is to focus on our successes. And that, I think, is something that holds a lot of people back. That, Scott, you're familiar with the concept of the yips, right? Where you get so up in your head that you forget how to do basic things. Again, going back to baseball, right? You forget how to scoop and throw. You forget how to point and throw. You forget how to swing a bat. And it happens because you're afraid of screwing up like you did in the past. And it's a mental trap. And the only solution to that is to consistently practice the thing that you're screwing up on or that you're not doing right. And in this case, we can look at the data to see what's going on. But failures, quote unquote, are going to happen no matter what business model you're in. If you have the expectation that every product that you launch on Etsy is going to sell 50 units a day, you are setting yourself up for failure. If every YouTube video that you launch you think is going to do 5 million views, unless you're Mr. Beast, you're setting yourself up for failure, right? You're going to have some things that do better than others. You just have to accept that. That's just a part of life. But with that in mind, Scott, Salama wanted to know, when do you know when to give up? Like, how do you set goals when you're starting something? So if we're just getting started today, we understand that we have to be consistent. But how much consistency is there before I know that this thing is not going to work for me? Or is there a roadmap or a plan that we can give to people to say, hey, do this for X amount of time and then take a look at the results? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Is there a general guidance that we can give to people that are thinking about, okay, I'm going to accept some of these failures coming in, but at some point, all I'm doing is striking out. Maybe I'm not cut out to be a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think you have to look and see other people that have been successful at what you're trying to achieve. Is it possible? That's why we do validation, right? In whatever we're doing, like if it's on YouTube, if it's on Etsy, if it's on Amazon, if it's a website that's ranking for certain stuff, like we have to look at the real data, right? And if we look at that and we know that someone else is achieving what we want to achieve, then we know it's possible, right? It's like the 4-minute mile. Like, no one thought it could be done. Then it was done. And then all of a sudden everyone starts to do it, right? We have to be a believer of the thing that someone else has already done in order for us to know that our efforts are going to pay off, right? Like right now I'm at our channel is at like 60, almost 67. It might be at 67. We might've just crossed it, 67,000 subscribers, which to a lot of you might sound like great, but I feel like I want to be over 100,000 subscribers, and then I want to be at 1 million subscribers. But it seems so far off, right? Will I ever get there when these other people are getting there? Will I ever get there? And I know that over time I will get there because I'm putting out good content. Some of it is resonating. Some of it is not getting picked up by the algorithm yet, right? So I know that if I just keep showing up, our good friend Steve Chu, same one, the one that wrote this book right here. I'll give you another book. Family First Entrepreneur. Great book. All right. Brand new book that he just came out. But he talks about that. You have to give something 3 years. 3 years is what he says before you can say, how's it working? Right. And to a lot of people, that's such a long time. But if you know what you're doing has the chance of that success, then you just have to keep showing up and taking swings. Bottom line, you just got to keep taking swings. So I would say, and if we look at this, like, for YouTube, let's say, like so my buddy that started his YouTube channel, I showed him examples of other YouTube channels that are crushing it, right? And then I look at all of the affiliate products that they're selling. So I know what that's earning. I know how much money they're probably earning from the ads because I can look at that inside of a tool like Social Blade and I can get an idea. But So I know that it's already there. So all he's got to do is show up and get the numbers. Like that's it. Right. And then everything else will fill in. He'll get sponsorship deals, right? Brands will want him to sponsor something, and then he'll get those. And that's where the real money is. Right. So it's already been proven to work, but he just has to keep showing up. Keep showing up. Just like I'm here today. Guys, I've got a scratched cornea. Yesterday, I couldn't barely open my eye. Today, I finally can. It literally felt like there was rocks in my eyeball. And today, here I am. Am I perfect? No. Am I wearing sunglasses? Yes. Will some people not hear me saying that I'm doing sunglasses or I'm wearing sunglasses for that reason and go, who's this guy think he is wearing sunglasses? That's kind of weird, right? Yeah, you're going to get people that'll say that eventually. But that's okay. I'm showing up. I'm being real with you. I'm trying to send a message to people to just keep putting out either content or keep showing up and doing what you're doing, because it will eventually work if you validated that the thing that you're doing has already been proven to work. I think that's the big one. And get surrounded with other people that are trying to do the same thing you're doing. That's a big one, because that's the support system that you build in, right? If you're hanging around with a bunch of doubters, right, you're going to doubt what you're doing and you'll probably lose interest, right? And I will say, not even to pat myself on the back, okay? I'm not going to do that. But I will say this, and my buddy Dave will probably say it too. If I didn't keep poking him, right? Get that video up, probably wouldn't be up, okay? Just probably wouldn't be up. So you just sometimes need that little bit of a poke to help you so you can see, now, some of you might be saying, well, he's lucky because he's got you to be able to kind of give him that advice. Yeah, but I give him the same advice I'm giving you. It's the same advice. There's nothing different. And actually, Chris, we should probably mention that we're going to do an unofficial kind of like YouTube audience building little workshop that we're going to do on July 1st, where I'm basically going to open up the laptop, show you our account. I'm going to show you his account. And I got another buddy of mine that's building another one in another niche that we're going to share. So there's like a lot of stuff that we're doing just to be transparent so we can help more people get themselves in the game, And there's the link right there, brandcreators.com/YT. If you guys are interested, if you're listening to this later, you can probably go there and probably get the recordings. But we are going to be showing up on July 1st to do that. I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, you just can't let excuses get in the way.
Going back to Salomon's question about how do I know when I should give up on something? The answer is it really the thing that you want? And if you're following the advice that Scott was just giving, which is be consistent and be realistic, the slightly more tactical version of that is, did you set a realistic goal to begin with, right? And I think where most people, Scott, screw this up is that they're not setting what are called SMART goals. And this is one of the few things that I actually remember from like going to college, but it's a very basic marketing thing, right? So a SMART goal is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. Why is it time bound? Because if you don't have a time limit on it, then you're just going to let it expand like the Parkinson principle dictates, right? Or Parkinson's law dictates, to all of the time in the world. So what does that mean? So before we do anything, we have to sit down and say, what does success look like? So if we're talking about an Etsy shop, a YouTube channel, whatever it is that we're starting as our side hustle, what is my first level of success? And if you sit down and say $1 million in the next 3 months, that's not realistic. And it's also probably not attainable. So you're missing the A in the R and SMART. But the very first thing is just to be specific with it. So set real numbers with real deadlines. Realistically, how much time do you have to contribute to this? And what is the thing that you can agree with yourself to do every day or every week? Can I create one blog post per week? And for how long before I come back and measure the results? So my suggestion would be to sit down and say, can I create one YouTube video a week? Yes. So your goal is going to be create one YouTube video a week for the next 90 days, right? Bring that back to the concept of the 12-week year. Is that something that is measurable? Yes, right? You either do it or you don't. At the end of those 12 weeks, you either have 12 YouTube videos, 12 blog posts, 12 new Etsy products, or you don't. Is it attainable? In that case, because we started with how much time we realistically have to begin with, then that should be attainable. The only reason that goal would not be attainable is if you're not actually working towards it as you go through that 12-week period. Is it realistic? Creating those videos, one per week, is a very realistic thing. Creating one new Etsy product a week is a realistic thing. And again, because we did that before we sat down and decided that's what we were going to do, we should be able to meet that. And then is it time bound? Yes. Coming back to this and starting with the end of income in mind is probably the wrong way of doing this when you're getting started, to evaluate whether or not this is something you want to continue doing after that 3 or 6 month period. But you can set some of those goals as well, especially if it's more of an easily monetizable thing like Etsy. The question with that would be is, how realistic was that goal to begin with? Again, I want to make $1 million on Etsy in 90 days. Not a realistic goal. I want to be totally monetized, have 1 million subscribers, and be making $10,000 a month in the next 6 months on YouTube. Is it possible? Yes. Is it realistic? Probably not. Can you be well on your way there? Yes. And so my suggestion would be, instead of focusing on the dollar outcome, which at the end of the day is where we want to be, at the beginning, if you're just getting started with this and you're trying to evaluate if this is the thing that you really want to focus on for the long term, focus on the production side of this. And when I say production, I don't mean like lights and cameras. I mean literally producing the thing. So if you're starting a YouTube channel, it would be, how many YouTube videos can I realistically create per week for the next 90 days? How many blog posts can I create per week for the next 90 days? How many new Etsy products can I create over the next 90 days to help me get further down that path? And then at the end of the 90 days, we can come back and say, okay, my realistic income goal is this, or the amount of money I want to make is this, the amount of subscribers I want to have is this. And if we're not starting to hit some of those goals in that next 90-day period, then we have to come back and say what's working and what's not. And this is the step, Scott, that I think that people miss on this most often, because they're not being consistent. So if over that 6 month period, instead of launching 24 products, we launched 5, then it's harder to see what's working and what's not. If we launched 5 videos instead of 12, it's a lot harder to see what's working and what's not. And that really comes back to the consistency thing, which is why we're calling that the number one reason that people start to fail. So for me, I would start with the production in mind for the first 90 days, and then go after the money realistically in the next 90 days and have that be more of your numbers type of a goal, and just add that on. And then after the beginning of that 6 month period, even if you don't quite reach that income level or the number of subscribers that you're shooting for, you then have more than enough data to come back and say which products are selling, which videos are people watching, which blog posts are people reading, to see what's working. And then over the next 90 days from there, you can focus on doing only what was working and forget about the stuff that wasn't.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. You outlined that perfectly. Yeah, I just kind of want to really, really highlight that in the very beginning, no matter what you are doing, you're really getting reps. It's about getting the reps. And in this case, if we're talking about a YouTube channel, let's just say, you're getting reps at creating video, uploading videos, creating thumbnails, creating titles, like all of those things you're doing. So you're getting more reps and you're also getting better. So you're doing that, you're learning, and you're probably going to be now building the audience. And then from there, where you really can see tremendous growth and you can start seeing the monetization. But the phase one of anything really is you got to get in the game and start getting the reps. And then everything else will start to kind of build off of that or come off of that. Right. I mean, when we first started publishing on YouTube, when we got, this past year, when we got, because we've been on and off YouTube for years, but like when we finally set out, like, you know what, we're going to pause all our Facebook advertising and we're going to try to go the organic route and try to just put a lot of time, effort, energy into YouTube and see what happens. And we did that. And in like a 10-month period, we saw tremendous growth. We added over 34, 35, 37, I forget what it was now, 1,000 subscribers, right? And we've had over 2 million views, right? On videos, on collectively, right? Which is amazing. So we're like, okay, this is cool. Our email list is getting built. We have more people showing up to our affiliate offers. That's been being built out behind the scenes. People are showing up to our website more now. Like all of that stuff is just happening organically because we said, we're going to give this thing 6 months. That was my initial thing. I'm going to give it 6 months. Every single week, we're going to post 2 videos, Tuesday, Fridays, and we're going to show up and do a live on Wednesday. Done, right? If we want to do anything extra, we can. We can add another video, which we've done. Add a little video, maybe a clip video. We've tested some shorts. We actually backed off of the shorts for now. We're going to just stick with long form. And that's it. But it's showing up and just putting in the work, right? And no excuses. Like, what is the day? What is the time? And no matter what happens, you're going to get that done. And for me, like if I missed one of my episodes, I would feel like, I had such a good streak. That kind of just, it hurts me, right? Because I don't like to not do my routine. It's like, that's a routine for me. So since I scratched my cornea, right? And I've been out of commission for a couple days, probably about 3 days now, I've missed my normal morning routine of doing my push-ups every single morning that I've done forever now. I've missed it. I feel terrible about that. Am I going to kick myself for it? No. As soon as I feel up to it, I'm going to get back on it again. But I still felt bad about it because it's kind of part of how I operate. It's all about consistency in anything that I do in life, right? So I think if you look at someone that's successful, you're going to see that it didn't just happen overnight. It happened because they consistently showed up over time, and then the results started to come. Now, this could be 6 months for you. It could be 3 months for you. It could be 5 years for you. Okay. But over that time, you're going to gain so much. You are going to slowly build the audience. You are slowly going to add revenue streams. You are going to do this, but sometimes something's going to take and it's going to just hockey stick, right? And that will happen as well. So the main thing here today is I wanted to show up because I didn't want to miss an episode, and I didn't want this here to be that thing, that excuse. Well, I can't today because I've got to scratch cornea, right? Like, I mean, that's a valid excuse, like, Scott, I get it. Take the day off. I mean, Chris, you even said it. We can push it till Thursday. I go, no, I don't want to push it to Thursday because that's not in our schedule. Our schedule is Wednesday. Now, yesterday it would have been debatable. Yesterday I was still in a little bit of pain and could barely see. But today I woke up and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do it. Right. And I feel good about it, that now here I am. I can check off that box and go, I was consistent. I stuck to being consistent and doing what I said I was going to do. Right. I'm a man of my word kind of thing. That's just, I don't know. It's how I was raised too. Like if I say I'm going to do something, do it. Right. I think one of the other things is, Chris, that I think that's worth mentioning is that sometimes people want to be their own boss, but they're not a really good boss for themselves, right? They're allowed to go, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it. That's not how I operate, right? And I don't think any successful entrepreneur, business owner operates that way, right? You have to be a good boss of you, right? If you're going to let someone else tell you when you're going to do something, then you should be able to tell yourself when you're going to do something. You should stick to yourself's word, right? More than someone else's, really. So that would be my thing. Ask yourself that question. Are you a good boss for yourself? And if not, you might want to find someone that forces you to be, your boss, and then says you are committed to doing this thing because I told you to. Something like that.
Well, that's why there's a thriving coaching industry for entrepreneurs, right? It's having that accountability. And I've always been one of those people, Scott, that could wait. I don't know how you were in school, but I could always wait until the last minute to do something. And I never really suffered negative consequences for it. I could wait until the night before to write my term paper because it was going to come out more or less the same as if I had written it 2 weeks before and never looked at it again. So when I first started working for myself, that was a huge struggle for me because there was no longer a timeline. And what you need to find, and this comes more to something like what Tiffany was talking about here. She said, I'm so used to working a job and being told what to do that I don't know what to do on a daily basis, or I'm not sure if I'm doing the right things. Any thoughts on a daily blueprint that you can share? And so the answer is, you're never going to always know if you're doing the right things. That's what the evaluation period, looking back, okay, was this the best use of my time? Did this video theme, or did this type of Etsy product, or did this thing that I did this pay off in the same way that everything else did? You can't do that real time, right? Scott and I, for the longest time, we ran Facebook ads. I've spent millions of dollars on Facebook ads, not just for the stuff that we do, but with all of the other ads that I run. And we made that determination by looking at it and saying, hey, if we took the same amount of time and effort that we had a standing weekly meeting to look at ads and talk about ads. What happens if instead of doing that, we turn that into a content planning meeting and talk about the blog posts we're going to write, the YouTube videos that we're going to have, right? If we hadn't done that, we wouldn't be having the growth that we are seeing right now. Scott, you probably wouldn't be as far ahead as you are in terms of scheduled videos because you shot everything for like the next 2.5 weeks, right? Yeah. Because we would have used all of that time focused on talking about Facebook ads versus the organic content side of stuff. So you're not always going to know in the moment, but that's where the reflection comes in. In terms of a daily thing, what you have to find is what is that deadline for you? For most people that work a 9-to-5 job, and I put that in ridiculous air quotes because no one actually works 9 to 5. Most places expect you to be in at 8:30 and leave whenever you're done with the work for the day. But that hard stop was 5 o'clock. Right now, that's kind of dragged to 6 or 6:30 or whatever. But what you have to find is the reason that you have that deadline in your life. Is it you're not going to turn the television on until you're done with everything for the day? Is it that you won't see your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend until you are done with everything for the day? And if you actually enjoy watching TV or actually enjoy spending time with your significant other or whatever that is, then you're going to make sure that you get the things done before you have the opportunity to do that. And that has been one thing for me, Scott, that has massively changed that floaty deadline thing. Is I know that if I want to hang out with Michelle, that I have to have everything done by 6 o'clock when we're ready to spend time together, or I'm going to be working all night and I'm going to miss out on that opportunity. I'm not going to be able to go to the concert if I'm not done with my thing. You have to give yourself that accountability. There are literally services that you can pay money to that will hold your money in escrow until you do something. And if you don't do it by the deadline, they keep the money, right? Or they donate it to a charity in your name. And if you do it in that time, then they give it back to you. I don't think it's 99.9% of people don't need that level of accountability. You just have to find the one thing that you really love doing and force yourself to only do that after you're done with the work for the day. Somebody just commented, Scott, said, is it normal to feel like you're being unproductive if there's nothing you necessarily need to do for the business for the day? I feel that way all the time. I don't know about you. Some days I look down and I went, I wrote 4 blog posts today. Scott and I had a 2-hour meeting about YouTube content. This was a good day. And other days I feel like all I did was check email all day. That's going to happen. But if you have those deadlines and you have the one thing or the 2 things that you have to do, you have that one video you have to create this week. The only time you should really feel like that is if you didn't create the video this week. Even if you didn't do it today, but you thought about it for a little bit, you shouldn't feel as unproductive unless you know you're not going to be able to do it tomorrow. And that, I think, is something that is fairly common. Scott, I'm sure you feel unproductive some days as well. And I think you were going a little stir crazy the last few days, I'm sure.
Oh, gosh.
Because you weren't really able to do anything on Monday. Yesterday, you were kind of there. Right. Yeah. Which, if you guys didn't notice and you're on our email list, it may have sounded slightly different yesterday because Scott was voice messaging me parts of the email that he wanted to send. And he said, you just fill in the rest. And so it's a little bit of a mixture of the two of us versus Scott's pure voice, which you would normally get because Scott couldn't look at a computer screen, but we had an email to send. So it still had to go out. So we figured out a way around it. Right. Mm-hmm. What do you do when you feel unproductive?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, some days you just have to accept it. But I also think if you've already checked off the boxes for the week, then I think it's okay to take a step back because then you could be more productive in your mind, right? Like I find that as long as I have checked all the boxes that have to get done, right, then I can step back and I can walk away from the computer and I can take a walk and detach myself and feel that I don't have to be checking email. I don't have to be looking at stats. I don't have to be doing any of that stuff because it's not really productive. It's just me kind of like thinking that I'm productive, but I'm really not. So I would say for me personally, very similar to what you said, Chris, is like, I need to have my stuff done by a certain time every day. So that way there, I can feel that I'm okay to step back now. And I feel good about that. But I think you and I are both wired also that there's always something to do. So it's like, how do I fill that time that I have something that I could do? Right. I think the thing is for anyone though, is, and if you're working a full-time job and then you're trying to work on your side hustle to turn it into a full-time gig, it's going to come down to you prioritizing your time to be the most productive at getting stuff done that is creating assets versus you just consuming content or checking email, things that are more of a passive type of thing versus you actually doing stuff that's going to be an asset for your business or for your potential side hustle to turn into something. And so, I mean, to stay consistent, sometimes you have to plan, right? So that's why I'm a big fan of sitting down, planning out your week and saying, I mean, this could be on a Sunday and say, okay, what is the thing that I have to get done this week? I have to shoot one video. Okay, I have to shoot one video. So what does that mean? Well, it means that I have to come up with a title, I have to come up with my thumbnail, and I have to come out with my outline for the video. I might have to do some research for the video. So those are the things that have to happen before I can even shoot the video, maybe, right? And so then I have to say, okay, so for this day, I'm going to just do that, or I'm going to do one part of that. So a lot of times it's working backwards on what the goal is of what you need to get done. And perfect example is, like I said earlier, if you guys are just tuning in, my son is getting married this weekend. So I've got a bunch of family coming in. I got my daughter, my oldest daughter with her kids and her husband coming in tonight, late tonight. And so they'll be here. Then Thursday, I've got my father coming in. I've got my wife's cousin and her husband coming in. I got a friend of mine that's coming in on Friday. And Saturday's the wedding. We got rehearsal dinner. We got all that stuff going on, right? So I got a whole bunch of people here. So I didn't want to have to be working for that whole week. But what does that mean? I still got a video that's got to go out on Tuesday. I got an email that's got to go out on Monday. I've got another email that's got to go out on Wednesday. And I've got another video that's got to go out on the following Friday. My son, who edits my videos, is going to be away on his honeymoon. He does all my editing. So I had to get him videos so he could have them done before he leaves. That means I had to shoot 6 videos. So I was busy. And then this happened. But I did all the videos before this happened. By the way, got scratch cornea if you guys are tuning in late. That's why I'm wearing the sunglasses. But sometimes you just have to figure out what the goal is. For me, it was, how am I going to stay consistent when I have this wedding coming up and family coming to town where I don't have to worry about that stuff, but I can still stay consistent, planning and then executing, period.
Great question from Joe over on YouTube. He said, how do you link the accountability aspect of feeling not productive when you're learning a new skill like video editing or learning Photoshop, et cetera? And Scott, this one for me is a place, like, I love learning new stuff.
Yeah.
And I could get lost in this. And I think the only solution that I have found to this is to tie it back to a specific reason why you're learning that skill set. If you say, I want to learn Photoshop, that is not a smart goal, right? It's not time bound. It doesn't give you a specific outcome. And there's too many variables there to know whether you're learning the things that you need to know. So for me, rather than saying, all right, video editing, what is the thing that you want to learn in video editing? The thing you want to learn in video editing is not Adobe Premiere. It's not Final Cut Pro. It's not iMovie. It's, how can I do this transition better? Or is there a way to do a jump cut with a zoom built into it, right? And this is a conversation Scott and I were having last week, actually, about the video that came out on Sunday, because we found a really cool plugin for Premiere that allows us to take a video, the 2 video feeds that Scott and I have when we do a live like this, and it automatically does the transitions that we're doing manually. So if he speaks or laughs, it'll cut over to him. If I'm talking or laughing, that's a giant pain in the butt to do if you're editing that on the timeline. Turns out somebody wrote a plugin for Adobe Premiere to do that, but it only does jump cuts. So it goes really hard from Scott to me, and there's no motion or nothing in that. So Scott and I were going back and forth. He said, a lot of times when I do jump cuts, I like it to do a little bit of zoom so that they don't feel like they're just sitting there. And he figured out a way. Was it with keyboard shortcuts or something like that?
Yeah, it was in ScreenFlow. Yeah. So that's the tool that we use for doing most of our editing.
To be able to do that. And Scott, did you watch some YouTube videos to be able to do that? Like, how did you go through that process and not just try to learn everything about ScreenFlow?
Yeah, I looked up how to do an action. It's basically called an action inside of ScreenFlow. It's kind of like Photoshop action, where if you create something once that you're going to do over and over again, you just create it, you turn it into a preset in a sense. And then when you're ready, you just select that clip and then you just put action, you select the action, and then it does what you would have done normally manually. and it kind of does that on the fly. So it speeds it up by probably 50%, at least. So yeah. But Chris, I think what you're saying is like, instead of just saying like, I'm going to learn video editing, and then you learn everything from top to bottom, you're figuring out the one thing that you need to learn in order to get a video out the door. So in the very beginning, it might just be like the basics of using, iMovie, right? And then it's like, okay, the basics of using iMovie means you got to import a clip. You got to be able to cut a clip. You got to be able to add text and maybe add some transitions. Like that's basically what you need to know, right? And keeping it simple. You don't have to worry about jump cuts or anything like that yet. And then once you get that dialed in, it's like, okay, I want to do this thing that they're calling jump cuts, which is basically like we're here, and then you might see me real close, and then you might see me jump back, right? That's a jump cut. And it's, they've been doing that in commercials and everything for years. Keeps you engaged. So to me, it's always about like, what is the one thing you're trying to learn? What's the reason for it? And is it worth you spending all the time to do that? Like, why are you learning how to edit? Well, I got to get a video up. Okay. How do you make the video better? By adding B-roll, let's say. And B-roll is just a secondary clip that kind of represents what you're talking about. Well, then I got to find what is a good stock video service. Maybe I'm going to research that, but that fills in with what I'm trying to achieve. And so, Chris, what I think you're saying is like, don't try to learn the entire system, and learn the thing that you need to learn to advance you to where you want to go. And at the bare minimum. Because you don't need to learn everything today. You just got to get a video up, or you got to get a blog post up, or you got to get an Etsy product up.
And that I think is the key to avoiding feeling unproductive when you're learning a new skill. It's what is the minimum viable skill that you can learn to get you the result that you're looking for right now. If you're creating your first design ever and you say, I'm going to read the Photoshop Bible before I start creating designs, you're doing it wrong. You could just get into Canva and start clicking around and be more productive that way. But if you're a more advanced designer and you say, hey, I want to figure out how to make this one thing do this other thing, and you need to learn something about Photoshop layers for that, that's okay, because you can then immediately take what you are learning and implement. And the time between learning and implementation, I think, is what really causes that feeling, because it feels like you're not learning anything because you are not doing. And I know that doesn't work for everybody. There's different types of learners. But what I have seen is, even with all of the different kinds of learners, until they're actually doing the thing, it doesn't really matter how they learn. It doesn't matter if you learn better by reading or by watching videos or by listening. Everybody will eventually learn by doing. And if you can focus on only learning the things that you need to get one step closer to your goal, and then go back and implement them. So watch the YouTube video on Photoshop layers, and then go play with Photoshop layers for a few minutes until you figure out exactly what they're talking about. If you're doing that, that gets you around that, and it keeps you productive without having to learn the history of Photoshop, reading and understanding the entire Photoshop Bible. What are all of the, Adobe After Effects, right? Like, it keeps you off of that hamster wheel by saying, look, I need to learn how to do a jump cut with a zoom, because that's the style that I like. I have this video that's pretty close. Is there a way that I can do it in this program and have it be something that's repeatable, so I'm not sitting here for 2 hours? If you're learning how to answer that specific question, you don't ever have to worry about feeling unproductive, because you either find an answer to it or you don't. And if you don't find an answer to it, then you just go through the old school process. If you do find an answer to it, then you've now cut that thought process out completely. You've learned now that there's a thing called actions in ScreenFlow. And so the next time you have a question, then instead of searching around for how do I save a macro inside of ScreenFlow, and Google goes, do you mean a ScreenFlow action? You go, is there a ScreenFlow action I can make to do Y? And so it makes your learning process in the future better as well, because you're more concentrated on a specific problem rather than a general idea or theory or piece of software.
Yeah, I would also say this too, Jim. We can kind of end on this part here for this topic, but so when you're trying to do something in editing, a lot of times it's not just because you want it to look cool. It's because you've been learning about videos, and you've been learning that when you do jump cuts, you get better retention. When you get better retention, you get better ranking, and the algorithm likes that better because it's going to start promoting more of your video and more of other videos of yours. So it's really like, the reason why we're learning video editing isn't just to learn how to create sexy videos. It's like, because videos that have better retention do better on YouTube, and YouTube is going to promote your videos more. So you see, like, we learned something about getting our videos to rank higher because of a certain aspect or a certain data point, which is retention, meaning how long does someone watch your video for? How do I get them to watch longer? So I learned that, but now I got to put that into practice by creating a video that allows me to achieve that. Right. So then see how it all kind of works. You don't just sit down and go, I just want to learn iMovie and learn how to, create awesome videos. Great. But why and what should you be working on? So I think it comes down to also taking your time and focusing on what really matters. And that happens by you going through that process of like what you're trying to achieve. So yeah, I think, and it'll all be different, right? If we're talking about Etsy products, creating better Etsy products, maybe Etsy SEO, it's all going to be different. So whatever we're trying to learn, that's what we focus on. The other things doesn't really matter. Not right now. Just shelf it. Chris, do we have any other questions here before we wrap up? And again, I'll say this one more time because I know there's going to be someone joining here live at the end or maybe watching this later. Scratch cornea, guys. That's why the sunglasses, not just because I want to look cool, but yeah.
We need a little bit of sunglasses at night playing as an outro today.
I wear my sunglasses at night. Corey Hart. That was the artist, by the way.
Now you sung that so well that we're now going to get a copyright strike on YouTube, right? But it's fine. No, Scott, I think that wrapped it up. Just as a quick summary, the number one reason why people fail is that they are not consistent. And the reason that most people aren't consistent really is that accountability factor. Yep. Right? I can always do this later. If you don't have a boss telling you what to do, most people do not have the self-discipline when they first get started to just do this thing. And so if you set realistic goals, realistic expectations with the time that you have on hand, and you stick to those goals, one video a week, one new product a week, one blog post a week, whatever the thing is that you're trying to start as your side hustle, if you start with a realistic goal and you stick to those goals, you're going to then be able to come back and take a look at what's working and what's not. And that gets you out of that flywheel of, oh, I tried writing a blog. I tried putting up a YouTube channel. I tried this, I tried that. Because once you've stuck to this consistently for 90, 120, 180, 365 days, or 3 years, like our buddy Steve Chu, then you can take a look back and say what worked, what didn't. And now you have the data to be able to get in and start to scale this thing into a successful side hustle, successful micro brand, or just get yourself out of that 9-to-5 job. So if you're setting those realistic goals and getting started, that will help you with the consistency piece of this, which is, again, the number one reason why we see people fail is they just can't be consistent with it.
Yep. Consistency is key. That is the secret. That is the secret sauce. So yeah, so here's what I'm going to say on anyone that is listening or watching this. Well, first off, if you guys got value from this, go ahead and smash the like button, hit the subscribe button on YouTube if you are watching this on YouTube, and you'll get any more updates or future videos, which we put out Tuesday and Friday, and then our Wednesday lives. So definitely make sure you do that. And drop in the comments right now if you suffer from this. And it's okay. We all have. Trust me, we all have. And so let me know in the comments if you struggle with staying consistent. And if you do, let us know why. What is your hang up? Everyone's going to be a little bit different. And I'd like to see, and maybe we can have another video or a live that we can help address some of these issues to help you get over the hurdle. If any of you are watching or listening right now, and you are interested in building an audience using YouTube, like we talked about, then I would love for you guys to join our YouTube audience building workshop, which we're going to be doing here on July 1st. All right. And Chris and I are basically going to open up the laptop. We're going to open up our account, our analytics. We're going to show you exactly what we're doing. We're going to do some strategizing of our own channel, of some future videos, how we're coming up with these. And then I'm also going to be sharing that friend that I was talking about, Dave, and his channel, and how I'm helping him and what I'm advising him. And then I have another buddy that's also started a YouTube channel who's doing really well. And we're going to share his stuff as far as what he's doing and what we recommend doing. So we're going to be showing like real examples. It's going to be kind of like us brainstorming and strategizing and then putting it into practice. And then really it's going to be anyone that's attending that. We are going to basically say, hey, are you going to be consistent? And are you going to be posting one video per week? And if the answer is yes, then that will be your accountability. All right. And that will be the thing that you say, yes, I'm going to do it. And you do it. All right. And then we'll look back and we'll probably do an update on that class and we'll say, how's everyone doing? Right. And then we'll go ahead and take it from there. I really, really do believe that YouTube is a great opportunity right now for anyone that is just starting, anyone that is wanting to build an audience that can turn into a micro brand. And I say micro brand, a micro brand could be 6-7 figure brand, but it's more of, it's just going to be you and maybe one VA. It doesn't even have to be a VA. It could be all you. But that's what we're going to be talking about. I'm really excited about YouTube and what it has to offer. It has definitely changed over the years. And this right here to me has been the best way to build an audience, and that you don't have to rely on paid ads. You can drive people to your Etsy shop. You can drive people to your Amazon, store, your business, your website, wherever. And you can do brand deals. You can do affiliate stuff. All of that stuff happens on the back of building that audience. And YouTube right now, to me, is a really great opportunity. So if you guys are interested in that, go to brandcreators.com/YT. And again, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys back here on another episode, which will be following Wednesday. So guys, take care, take action, have an awesome, amazing day, and we'll see you right back here on the next episode. Take care, guys.